Good morning, my dear students of class 8. We come for the second session of The Lady or the Tiger. So to recapitulate, last time I gave a brief introduction about the author, and I also explained to you about the king, his nature, his behavior, his cruelty and his madness, how people were crushed, people were forced, that behavior of his. So today we will continue. So please look at the book. So I will start reading. Among the borrowed notion by which his barbarism had become semified was that of the public arena, in which by exhibitions of manly and beastly valor the minds of the subject were refined and cultured. So I have explained this last paragraph last time, where people were forcibly put in the arena and they had to go trial, and I gave you an example of the gladiator last time. But even here the exuberant and barbaric fancy asserted itself. The arena of the king was built not to give the people an opportunity of hearing the rhapsodies of dying gladiators, nor to enable them to view the inevitable conclusion of a conflict between religious opinions and hungry jaws, but for purposes far better adapted to widen and develop the mental energies of the people. See, here in this line, people had no freedom of speech. They were not able to express their religious freedom or any freedom. So if they spoke against the king, they would be put in trial. They were put in trial in the arena. So even the bravest warriors, it was a nightmare for them. They had to go to the trial, where they would end up either dying or either winning. So there were no tales told by the gladiators or the warriors. They were simply changed in the thoughts. They were mentally tortured and physically put into trial, where lions, bears were available. This vast amphitheater, with its encircling galleries, its mysterious vaults and its unseen passages, was an agent of poetic justice, in which crime was punished or virtue rewarded by the decree of an impartial and incorruptible chance. So this was, as I told you, this was a place of justice, where it was fair and square. So here people could not point out that the king had cheated. So it all depends upon the person who is put inside that arena, that amphitheater, where there were two doors. So from one door, from any door, in fact, animal would come out and they would kill, or either they would kill the animal itself. So here the last line, impartial and incorruptible chance. So here there were no chance of people accusing the king. So here there was a gallery, as I've already shown you in the picture. There was a gallery, and in the middle of the gallery there was a ring. There was the ground, that arena, where they had to fight for their justice. When a subject was accused of a crime of sufficient importance to interest the king, public notice was given that on an appointed day the fate of the accused person would be decided by the king's arena, a structure which well deserved its name, for although its form and plan were borrowed from afar, its purpose emanated solely from the brain of this king, who, very barbaricon a king, knew no tradition to which he owed more allegiance than pleased his fancy, and who engrafted on every adopted form of human thought and action the rich growth of his barbaric idealism. So this arena, here it talks about the king's barbaric idealism, his barbaric thought. He wanted to create a picture in people's mind, that is fear of the king. How king would punish if anyone spoke against the king. Everyone has their own ideal. So here the king's idealism was the arena and the trial, where even the bravest, the courageous had to pay the price. So this was in a way where king used to announce that such and such person is on trial. Then people would get the invitation, they would come and they would see the trial. And by looking at the trial, people would fear the king, because it was not an easy trial. This trial was really, really challenging. They had to fight till the end. So king's barbaric idealism was very, very selfish. It was very, very selfish, and he had brought this idea from afar, from his fellow countrymen. So he wanted to have a monarchy where they would only fear the king and they would obey the orders and the laws created by the king. When all the people had assembled in the galleries, and the king, surrounded by his court, sat high up on his throne of royal state of one side of the arena, he gave a signal. A door beneath him opened, and the accused subject stepped out into the amphitheater. So you can just imagine, this theater had a trap door which was underneath. So whenever the accused was there, and whenever the king raised his hand or gave a signal, this trap door used to open. Directly opposite him, on the other side of the enclosed space, were two doors exactly alike and side by side. So as I said, there were two doors exactly the same. So you had to wait for your chance, either being killed or surviving alive. It was the duty and the privilege of the person on trial to walk directly to these doors and open one of them. So they had to open the door. They had to open either one of the doors. He could open either door he pleased. He was subject to no guidance or influence but that of the aforementioned impartial and incorruptible chance. So this door was very mean. In other words, you had a little bit of chance of living. From 100, 99% you would die. 1% was the only hope. So this was very, very mean from the king's side. Why? To show his barbaric idealism. Why? To create fear in the mind of the people. If he opened the one, there came out of it a hungry tiger, the fiercest and most cruel that could be procured, which immediately sprang upon him and tore him to pieces as a punishment of his guilt. So you can just imagine the depth. A tiger coming out of the door and tearing you apart in pieces. So you cannot be more brutal than that. So you can just imagine the state of the king's mind, how brutal he is, how he is focused on getting that heroic applauses from his people. The moment that the case of the criminal was thus decided, doleful iron bells was clanged, great walls went up from the hired mourners, posted on the outer rim of the arena. So you had the outer arena as well. And vast audience with bowed head and downcast hearts wended slowly their homeward way, mourning greatly, and that one so young and fair, or so old and respected, should have merited so dire a fate. So once a person died, you could imagine the state. They would take him out of the arena, they are the outer ring, and people would mourn. Be the old, be the young, there was no mercy from the king's side. So you can just imagine how this arena is, or how mentally sick the king is, in order to gain his popularity, in order to create fear in minds of people. He had no mercy. Okay, so thank you, class. We will continue in the next session, and I believe you have done the meanings and the sentences in the copy or either in the paper. So I will meet you in the next class. Thank you and have a good day.